What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is Carter Scotland Allen here, and today we are taking a look at Scream 2, which came out in 1997, a year before I was born, and only a year after the release of Scream 1, which is just Scream, which is very uncommon to have movies released a year back to back, especially at the time. Alright, so Scream 2. Once again, written and directed, directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, as well as Jamie Kennedy. We have Jada Pinkett Smith as our infamous opening kill for Scream 2, which is not nearly as good as the opening of Scream. I just have to say that. It is not nearly as good of an opening as Scream, but it is still really well done. I love the fact that they're watching Stab, which is supposed to be a movie about what happened in Scream, the events of Scream. I thought Jada Pinkett Smith did a really good job. Her scream on stage was actually really like guttural, and like you felt like, oh my god, this is real. Everybody else, oh yeah, they're playing, but when she got on that stage and you're like, oh my god, she's really hurt. The kills in this movie, they really amped up the budget for the special effects and the kills. It's a good thing, but I didn't care for it simply because some of the kills just felt like they were going for that shock factor, which I guess is kind of something that Ghostface or, people who have been Ghostface would tend to do. I don't know, some of the kills in this movie just didn't mesh with me that well, and we will get into it a little bit more in just a second. Now, on to the screenplay. Kevin Williamson, again, did a great job. I would say it was a little bit harder to get invested with this one. Easy to get invested, harder to follow along. There were just a few plot things that just like straight up didn't make sense. Sydney's boyfriend was being hazed by his college buddies, and then out of nowhere at the end he's still strung up in the position like he was being hazed, but it's in the theater and he's got all these cut marks, and like, how did that happen? When did he get there? So they didn't really show that. It was just some weird character decisions. So you could tell that it was slightly rushed, and obviously you can tell that because it was released a year after Scream. So obviously the script was rushed, and you could tell that a little bit. So not as good as Scream 1, but the commentary on horror was once again fantastic. Now, the cinematography was done by a different person this time. This was done by Peter Deming. Scream 1 had Mark Irwin, and I have to say the cinematography in this was, again, not as good as the cinematography in Scream 1. I felt it was a little more generic of a film. It just felt, I knew everything that was happening, so that's good. I wasn't confused. It was great lighting and things like that, but it wasn't anything unique. The cinematography wasn't unique in any way, but good thing Ghostface and the characters within this world are unique enough that it didn't hinder the story too much. I do have to say the set decoration and design was fantastic, though. When Gale is running through the sound studio and there's all these walls and you can still see Ghostface, kind of behind her, chasing her around. In that scene, the walls are white, and it kind of reminds me of the maze sequence in The Shining, where they're running through the snowy bushes, I guess. And so that was just a really cool comparison. It's fun to see all the other horror comparisons or references within the Scream franchise. And again, I haven't seen Scream or any of the other Screams since the release of Scream 4. So this was fun to go back and rewatch Scream 2. I totally forgot that Randy died in this film. I thought Randy died in Scream 3, so I was genuinely caught off guard. I was like, oh no, the cameraman's going to be inside the van and he's going to die. But it was Randy, and I was genuinely like, damn. So yeah, poor Randy, but that's good filmmaking. I don't know. I was fucking happy. The cinematography, again, wasn't the best. The special effects and animation, the blood and guts, it was blood and guts. It looked like blood and guts. The pole through the back of the head, that was awful. Hated looking at that. I did like the sequence of them having to crawl over Ghostface. However, I just didn't care for, like, you know, the guy with the pole through his head. Like, it just didn't seem Scream to me. I don't know if I'm an outcast with that opinion, but it just didn't seem Scream-like to me. That might be a very unpopular opinion, considering it is only the second film in the franchise, so there's not much to stray away from in that sense, but I personally didn't care for it. And I usually don't have a problem with those types of kills. As for the production design, again, I said it was fantastic. That studio sequence was great. I liked that it was set at a college. I liked that it was different than the first. It wasn't just, neighborhood killings. It was, I loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who gets thrown off the roof, and that sorority house sequence was great. I'm glad that they didn't stick with the sorority stuff super long. They knew what horror trope to lean into a little bit, dip their toes into, and then pull back out before they got sucked in too deep. And so that was really, really well done. Just for the most part, all the kills were really well done. I think the only one that did really bother me was just that pull through the head. Now, once again, the musical score, I would say, is actually better than Scream. The score in this film was fantastic. It was just more memorable, honestly. Like, everything in Scream 2, that's the audio that I had paired with Scream 1. I thought this was the soundtrack from Scream 1, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is the soundtrack that I remember. And so I think I had to give it to Marco Beltrami once again with a 5 stars out of 5 stars. I guess I'm getting into that a little bit too early, but it was a perfect score, and like I literally could listen to it with headphones. So that says something, and I don't do that at all ever. And now on to the costuming and props. They did a great job, you know. It looked like a college. The theater sequence was great. It made you feel like you were at a college theater. I loved how Ghostface was, you know, hidden in there, sneaking around. It felt real. It felt plausible. So that was good. But yeah, other than that, I think it's just some preference things where I'm just like, oh yeah, it's just a little dated. Some of the jokes don't hold up. Some of the writing's a little out there and all over the place. I don't quite believe everything that Mickey says. I don't really find him to be that convincing of a killer. I think Mrs. Loomis absolutely is believable, but Mickey wasn't the best in my opinion. I did think he did a great job leading up to the reveal, but after that I was like, okay, well, your reasoning wasn't it just was kind of okay. But yeah, so now on to the final review. So for directing, I give Wes Craven a 5 stars out of 5 stars. For the cast, I give it a 3 out of 5, and that is due to some of the weird delivery, some of the weird dialogue that's just written, as well as some of the new supporting cast members that I just didn't gel with. As for the screenplay, I gave the screenplay a 3.5 out of 5 due to some of the janky writing that I just found to be a little clunky. The cinematography, I give a 3.5 out of 5. It was good, not great, but definitely could do better for the Scream franchise. Special effects, I give a 4 out of 5, and that is due to the fact that the kills are really well done. I mean, you can't tell that there's any fake blood. You can't tell that there's any prosthetics, so it does its job. It makes you think it's real, so it was very well done. Doesn't mean I loved it, but it was very well done, so that's why I give it a 4 out of 5. As for the production design, I give that a 3.5 out of 5, also due to the fact that the college setting felt a little lazy. Not that it was bad, it was just hard to make it fun and interesting. But when they did make it fun and interesting, i.e. the studio scene, it was fantastic. And the sorority house scene, that was fantastic. So leaning into certain parts of the college horror trope thing worked, and certain things didn't. As for the musical score, like I said, I had to give it a 5 out of 5. Absolutely way better than the first. It sticks. It's creepy. It's that boom, boom, boom. It just works. it's so much better. I know I need to elaborate more, but you know what? This is my second review ever on YouTube, so we're getting used to this stuff. And the costuming and props, I gave a 3.5 out of 5 just because it was generic college students walking around. Looked like generic college students. There was the camera crews and things like that. Ghostface looked great as always, and that's all you really need is for Ghostface to look good. If Ghostface looks good, then most Scream fans will be happy. I'll say that. So, and with all that being said, my review comes out to a 3.6. So that is very drastic change compared to Scream 1996, which has a 4.7. That is a full 1.1 star lower, and I think it's just because it's not as memorable. The kills aren't as memorable. The story's a little bit clunky, and the killers in the end weren't that great. I did like Mrs. Loomis, but other than that, didn't care for Mickey. So let me know what you guys think of my views on Scream. I'm super excited. I'm going to watch Scream 3 and 4 right now. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for my reviews of Scream 3 and 4, as well as my review for Scream 2022. Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys in the next one.